This is Rajni from Desi Canberra, welcoming you to a fresh, new, exciting series I like to call Painting the Canberra Landscape, Women in Leadership. And my very first guest for our series is a very dynamic leader in the field of primary and secondary education in Canberra. She is known for her business acumen and strategic leadership, and she heads one of the top schools of Canberra. If you haven't guessed it already, it is Miss Fiona Godfrey, the principal of Radford College. Welcome, Fiona, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad you're here to join us. Most of you are aware that Radford College is an independent, non-selective Anglican day school boasting of excellence not only in academics but also in extracurriculars, and a very strong, diverse community that sticks together through thick and thin. Fiona, you have led the school in the past 8.5 years through two numerous achievements and through two very challenging COVID years. Would you like to share a bit about your journey with our audience?
Sure, thank you. And yes, they have been two very turbulent years, and not only for us here at Radford, but obviously in the larger and wider community. And I think it has caused us all to re-examine what are the really important things in life, and to imagine a world which is far more adaptable than it was previously. Yeah. So my journey here at Radford, as you said, started 8.5 years ago, but I did previously come from another principalship in a girls' school in Adelaide, and I had, in my years leading up to taking on that principalship, had taken on more and more senior roles in schools. I hadn't intended that I would actually remain in schools. In fact, I got to a juncture in my life after my second child at about 30 years of age, and thought I've probably gone as far as I can go in education, and started to examine and look at other career options. Interestingly, at about that same time, I got called to the principal's office, and as we all know, it can be quite a daunting task when you get called to the principal's office, and I was thinking, of course, what have I done wrong? But he wanted to have a chat to me about where I saw myself going. It was just coincidental that the two things sort of happened at the same time. And he told me at that time that he thought that I had the makings of being a principal. I had not even imagined that I would be considered for those sorts of roles. But it was him that really gave me the confidence and the projection to go forward and eventually take on my first principalship over in Adelaide, and then I had the opportunity to come over here to Canberra and take on Radford principalship, which I have got to say I've loved every single day of being in this role. It is just such a dynamic role to be in, always different, and certainly, as you mentioned before, COVID days certainly brought up lots of challenges, as any other day does as well. So.
Well, I think Radford is really lucky to have you, steering the ship. I know as a parent how daunting the years of COVID have been, and it's wonderful to see how the students of Radford have, with the help of the leadership and the teachers, come out of that online learning and learn to adapt to skills. It's a demanding role that you are in. You've also got your personal life and social life to balance. How do you make it seem so effortless and simple?
Well, I think after this week I wouldn't say it's effortless, but look, you really got to be a goal setter, and you've got to either physically make lists for yourself or mentally make lists, and I certainly do both. I give myself time in every day to have my time, and that my time is my exercise in the morning, and that gives me the opportunity to clear my head, to start to think about what I'm going to be saying to people if I've got to have those difficult conversations, what I'm going to be writing if I need to write an article for a bulletin piece, or for any of the magazines, etc., that we produce here at the college. Start to think about what I'm going to be saying to students in assembly or any other speeches that I might need to give. So it really does clear my mind. I come back, I feel like I'm ready to cope with the day, and then from there the progression through the day just happens, and it's always many and very different things that you're doing, and I have to say that no 2 days are ever the same. They're always throwing up lots of challenges, but challenges I always think are positive things, and that's the way you've got to look at it. You've got to have that positive mindset in the way that you approach things. So my exercise, coupled with making lots of lists, adopting a positive mindset into the role that you're doing, I think collectively that helps me to get through some very busy days and some challenging times.
I think that's wonderful skills that you've shared with us, and I'm sure many of us can learn from that. I understand you're passionate about science. You have studied science. What are your thoughts on encouraging students in STEM, and how do you and Radford support children or students in that?
Yeah, look, certainly I'm a strong advocate for students taking STEM subjects. That was my favourite subjects at school myself. I loved the opportunity to really challenge yourself and to work through problems. And so I did virtually all math science subjects at school. Nowadays we would be encouraging students perhaps to do one or two other subjects, but in those days it used to be you either went down the math science pathway or you went down the humanities pathway, and I certainly went down the STEM pathway and then went on and studied a science degree. I value the opportunities that those subjects can provide for students. Gives them a myriad of pathways, but also gets students to think about those creativity, the problem solving, which can then be later used in life for other purposes. And again, it opens up lots of opportunities for students at tertiary studies. And what we do to encourage students to continue in those subjects, particularly the girls, because there has historically been a tendency for girls not to choose math science subjects, is to talk about the fact that there is no gender bias in subjects. It's really where your passion lies and what you're good at and what you know that you need to have when you finish school. So it's that combination that we often talk about, follow those subjects that you enjoy, follow those subjects that you're good at, and look at what you need to continue to do to get to where you want to post-school. So we often talk in those terms to students. We often will give encouragement to students who we know should be continuing to study those subjects. And we talk about where that can get students in terms of their career pathway, and that they are all things that they often don't necessarily think about when they're starting to do subject selection at year 10, but we need to take them on that journey to try and get them to see beyond those next couple of years and see what are the subjects that they need to study.
I think it's such an important role you're playing, Fiona, in shaping children's minds and giving them direction. So that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I'll come to the final question. Fiona, you have been a recipient of the 2011 South Australia Businesswoman Award, Community and Government. What is your success mantra? I'm sure all our viewers want to hear that. Something that motivates you and keeps you going.
Yeah, look, I think success has many facets, but I think probably the most important part of that is human relations, and the joy and the sense of involvement and the sense of being part of a community within an organisation is a very important part of being successful. And I think people need to be able to relate to you as a person, so to be able to make that connection between you as the leader of the organisation and what the organisation's values are. So I would say it's absolutely important that everyone is known, is understood, is supported when they have difficulties, and we know that everyone has difficulties at some stage. And so I would say if I had to identify one thing, it would be those human relations, which are so important for the success of an organisation.
Thank you, Fiona. This is really wonderful. My key takeaways, just for ease of families and especially students listening in, planning, exercise, me time, and the quality of human relations is what I'm taking away from this conversation with Fiona. Is there anything that I have missed?
I think you've summarised it pretty well.
And also humor. I think she just brings that big smile to everything she does. It's been lovely. Thank you so much, Fiona.
My pleasure. Thank you.